Hey, welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I am Steve Harper. With me, as always, is the amazing, the illustrious, the incredible Donna Carlin. How are you doing, Donna?
Good morning. I'm good.
Apparently, I've had
I'm
too much caffeine
caffeinated.
today,
I'm
so
good.
good luck. Buckle up. It's going to be one of those episodes.
Yep, I've had my
Cheers.
caffeine. Yes, I'm good. Yeah, cheers.
I got my new
Oh
Yeti,
boy,
too, but how do you like that? It's red,
very
matches my
cool.
shirt, sort of.
Sort of. Yeah, that's the operative word, sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I was just trying to match our theme with your red hair, my red shirt, my red cup.
Okay.
What's our topic today? Before I take us
So
too far off dead center.
I caught the middle part because I never watch anything like that in its entirety of America's Got Talent.
Uh-huh.
And the person on stage was asked a question and she answered in a self-deprecating way. And then Howie Mandel stood up, put his hands on his hips and said, "Stop it." And she was so taken aback. So she said, "Stop what?" He said, "Putting yourself down. It's not funny." He
Yep.
said, "I learned a long time ago the hard way that when you make these self-deprecating remarks, if you're talking to somebody who might give you a part, might give you a role, might give you a job, might even, want to go out with you on a date, you put yourself down, they're going to throw their hands up and say they don't see, their own worth, not giving them the time of day. And it's come back to bite me over and over again. So stop it." And she said that whether or not she won, the top award or whatever, this was probably the best lesson that she's ever had in her life. So
Wow.
of course I started thinking of our show
Yeah.
and wondering, can we grant ourselves permission to be who we are and know that's enough?
That's so hard for so many people, including myself. In
Yeah.
theory, I think it's a very, I think it's a great thing to strive for, right? But even I struggle with that. I mean, I know that this is why people that have seen previous episodes, I get the triple hockey puck because it's hard. It's very hard, and I think a lot of it has to do with I don't know, our upbringing, our past experiences, taking negative feedback or input from other people that we really have, for whatever reason, it's made that dent. Like I've talked about in previous episodes, that scratches your vinyl record, and it's hard to overcome that because every time you come around when you think you're getting where you need to go, and then you hit that bump, and then it kind of shifts the needle a little bit, and we have a tendency, I think, to try and utilize self-deprecating humor or try to take away the power or the sting of somebody else's comment or thought by putting our own out there, so that we kind of get out ahead of it. But what we recognize is we're losing all of our power when we do that, right? We are impacting other people's impressions of us when we allow ourselves to happen, allow that to happen in certain circumstances. And so, like how he said, right, that's very true, right? You are automatically changing the perception of somebody else by sort of being self-deprecating.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what you're saying about yourself, why wouldn't they believe you?
That's right. I mean, if I tell you I suck, I mean, and you just met me, you have no evidence to base it on. You're probably like, yeah, okay, well, I guess you suck. I mean, what are you gonna do?
That's different than me walking into a new client's office and for the first time doing an intake
Yeah.
and asking them right off the bat, "What do you suck at?" And they look at me and they they say, "What? Like, why you asked me that question? I want to know what you suck at. I mean,
Yeah.
do you want to turn everything around and try to be perfect at everything, or let somebody else do what they're great at, which you suck at, and then to focus your time and attention on becoming masterful at what you already do well?"
Yeah.
I also want to celebrate their suckiness. And it's just so funny because I tell them, tell me where you suck. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me every instance that you could remember where you really sucked at something, to the point where the two of us are laughing our heads off.
Yeah. Yeah.
By that point, it has no control over them whatsoever. And
That's a great strategy, because I think at the end of the day, and we've talked about these things, whether it's fear or lack of confidence or these stories we make up in our heads, when you pull it out of the dark corner where it seems to control and have a lot of power. When you pull it out from behind that curtain and you put it out into the light, and you kind of, especially if you can equate that to something humorous about it, like you're doing with your clients, now all of a sudden it doesn't look like, how was I believing that? How could I have ever bought into that? Or it no longer controls or has the same power that it did before.
That's it. So, the first thing that comes to mind is what makes us think it's ever appropriate to put ourselves down, especially when somebody doesn't know us? Are we trying to set the bar so low that anything that we do above and beyond is going to be a success? Or do we want to lower their expectations of what we could bring to the table, or our own expectations in case we fail?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I can't answer for another human being. What I can say is, do we give ourselves permission to be us? What would it take to let go of societal expectations, parental programming, what we learn in school where we don't measure up, whatever it is, and say, I am enough?
Yeah.
What is so hard about that?
It isn't hard when you put it like that, I think, but putting it into practice is the challenge, right? It's behavior change, it's habit change, it's allowing yourself the freedom to actually say the words, but understand and feel the meaning behind them. And I think that's the real critical thing. It's kind of like, one of the things that I do in my other podcasts is I ask my guests, what's something that you would, a piece of advice or a message that you would like to share out with the world. And that actually, that statement, that reaffirmation is actually something that I think should be on our bathroom mirrors every morning when we're getting up and, brushing our teeth, and we're looking at that and we're internalizing that. Imagine how different people might look and view themselves when they can say the words and they have to look at themselves in that mirror every single day. When you get to that habit of doing it, all of a sudden you start to believe it and you start to feel it because it becomes a shift. And it takes time and it can be difficult. The problem I think that we run into in a lot of respects is that we fall into the bad habits of allowing ourselves to believe all the negative. And that's the problem, is those things, for whatever reason, our little brains love to hold on to that in our psyches, that's the thing we hold on to more so than any of the positives. And it's really a form of our own mental self-abuse. We allow it to happen. We allow these things to occur, and we're not doing anything to fix the record, if you will, to like get over the scratch, to reassert some new ways of thinking, some new affirmations and approaches. And I think even just having those words on your bathroom mirror, where you see it every morning when you brush your teeth before you go out into the world, you see it every night before you go to bed, and you remember the power of those words, hopefully that you can start to change some behavior, to understand that they're not just words, they're true.
I think we need to contextualize and not just have words on a mirror. You know what I mean? It's to say, why are we a good human being? Why are we enough? Like, this is every reason today why I was more than enough.
Yeah.
And it's talking about how you view yourself in the context of things, not I did X, Y, and Z. It's more to the effect of I maintained my true authenticity, even if somebody treated me like a piece of garbage, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, we talked about in previous episode about the five whys. And
Yep.
this is a great exercise, I think, for this kind of topic. I don't feel I measure up. Well, why don't I feel
Yeah.
I measure up? Because somebody told me in grade school that I'll never amount to anything. Why did that person tell you that you wouldn't amount to anything? Because I wasn't vocal in class. Why wasn't I vocal in class?
Yeah.
I had a stutter. Like, whatever it is that you might drill down, um, to the point where you get to the root cause of why you're responding in the way that you're responding. And it
Yep.
all comes down to, and you mentioned this also in a previous episode, one of my mottos, what somebody else thinks of me is none of my business. If I'm putting myself down because one person at one time in like a specific minute in my lifetime told me I didn't measure up, and I'm literally taking that with me for the rest of my life, that makes me an idiot. I'm not doing it.
Hmm.
So it's having the conversation that's a lot deeper, I think, with ourselves.
Yeah, I heard an analogy the other day that I think really makes a lot of sense is that, somebody else's, luggage doesn't have to be yours, right? Their hang up, their issue, their concern, their opinion of you is the equivalent of you going to the airport with your big bag of luggage and you just picking up two or three other people's bag of luggage and deciding to lug that through security and lug it to their
Yeah.
gate and carry it with you. And the reality is, you wouldn't do that in life. You would never even think about doing that in life. Yet the mental luggage that we allow other people to pile on and expect us to carry is is it kind of it defies logic. Yet we do it all the time. And that, whatever somebody said back in grade school or somebody said at your first job or that feedback you got on a review or, the things that, people have placed on you probably is a lot more about their insecurity and says a lot more about them than it really does you. But at the end of the day, for you to allow it to continue to have power to burn and in some instances, demotivate you, de-inspire you and carry that flame forward where it works against you, it really is it really is it's hard to overcome. I get that. I don't want to diminish that in any regard. But when you start to look at it from a logical perspective, it's like, yeah, why would I carry that around? Why would I allow somebody to pile that stuff onto me? That may have been their thought in the moment. That may have been they were having a bad day. Heck, they could be very intimidated by my skill sets and my abilities, and they were doing their level best to try and tap me down. I don't know what it is, but it's not really my job to understand it or to carry it forward any longer. And, you, like you said, one of the things is the five whys, great strategy. The additional questions that just come up about why was I good today? Why, what makes me unique? What difference did I make? How many ripples did I create? How many people did I touch? Did I do the things that I really wanted to do in the way that I wanted to do them? Did I step up and speak with authority and my confidence to share my message, not because, not based on the way somebody else thinks I should do it or how I should do it, but was I authentic to myself? These things are completely empowering and they have such a positive impact on your life and your self-perception. So I just reiterate to our audience, it's like, stop allowing the mental abuse that continues to go on. You got to stop that cycle.
So they're not heaping stuff on us. We're heaping stuff on us.
Correct. Yep.
It's they don't have the control to say, here's my opinion of Donna or Steve, and I'm pushing it on them, and that's what they're going to wear for the rest of their lives.
Hmm.
We're the ones that are embracing it, owning it, and giving permission for it to label us. It's not them
Yeah.
anymore. It's what we do with it.
Yep.
It's
You're
their
absolutely right.
opinion in that moment, for whatever reason, their own reason, whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter in that moment. What we do with that from that moment on is all on us.
Yeah.
And so if we allow, like ourselves, to keep wearing that banner on a regular basis, we only have ourselves to blame for that.
True. That's very true.
And we're setting the lowest common denominator to measure down to what they called us or what they labeled us as.
Yeah.
And what is the sense in that? I'll never understand that.
No, doesn't make any sense at all, but it happens all the time. But
Yeah.
part of what these shows are about, right? The topics that we bring up on Inquiring Minds are to get you thinking, hey, am I doing this? Is this affecting me? Is it something that I need to, seek some guidance and help on? We hope that these conversations create an opportunity for you to have that internal dialogue, but also dialogues with your close confidants, your family, your friends, your coach, your ability to get these things on the table, to start thinking about, is this working against me? And the question, really, excuse me, the answer is generally yes. We don't realize that it's happening. We don't realize that we've allowed so much of this to consume so much of our life. But the good thing is once you know it, now you know what not to allow to happen, right? You now have some, different perspective and viewpoints to tackle this and, overcome the challenge.
So I have a challenge for our listeners. Every time you find yourself in a self-deprecating mode, or family, friends, colleagues, whatever, catch you, and you're going to invite them to catch you, putting yourself
I
down in
love it.
any way, shape, or form. You're going to put $1. I'm not talking a quarter here. You're going to put $1 in a jar that's going to go to your favorite charity.
Mm, I like that.
And I did that with my Tongue Fu program in a company that I brought it to. And it was a scream because they were putting quarters in a jar and they were filling up those jars so fast with using the word but. And like as we would be on a call, it would be clink, clink, clink. It was hysterical. Till finally they said, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm going to have rolls of quarters on my desk, or I'm going to have to get rid of the word but. And they're catching themselves left, right, and center now. They
That's
say but,
awesome.
and they'll stop themselves and say and instead of the but. And it's just phenomenal. It's self-awareness.
Yeah,
And when others, say, caught ya, $1 in the jar, and then collectively, or if you're the person that's collecting the money, it goes to a charity of your choice,
that's great.
with the proviso that you tell them that this is for you to stop putting yourself down. They're getting some money for that, and you're going to remember that, because
Yeah.
half of it is catching yourself.
Yep. That's great. That's a great suggestion. I love that.
There you go.
Well, Donna, how can folks that are either watching this on YouTube or hearing this on the podcast platforms, which, by the way, watching our statistics, I mean, we are just starting to really, we're watching our episodes really take off. And so we're so grateful for wherever you as our audience is tuning in. But how could you get engaged, or how could they get engaged in more conversation about this topic or any topics that, they'd like to raise for us to cover in a future episode?
The best way for conversation purposes is our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. Join the group. Let us know who you are and what you think. If there's certain topics you'd like us to expand upon or talk about, happy to listen. And,
Absolutely.
share your anecdotes, because it'll invite other listeners to weigh in as well. So we'll get a community conversation going.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the
Well,
best way.
I mean, another great episode. I really am so grateful for these conversations, Donna. I can't wait for the next one. But until then, we'll be back with another episode of Inquiring Minds. But take care.
You too have a great one.